I'm delighted to welcome today Fiona Duncan Steer, who actually has many hats, don't you, Fiona?
I do.
So those I know about, you're very into health and well-being, and particularly mental health and self-care, and you run a coaching practice. You're a vegan blog writer. Is it
Vegetarian.
vegetarian
Yeah.
blog writer, restaurant critique? You run a super networking organisation as well. So mental health and well-being. Let's unpick that one to start off with. So where are you based, Fiona, and how is it that you've got into mental health well-being as a thing?
Hi, Elaine. Thanks for having me. So I'm based in Nottingham. And in terms of mental health, I wouldn't say that I'm a practitioner in mental health at all. I'm not. It's more sort of mindset for me, really, more so from a business perspective. I'm a business owner and have been for the last 15 years now, running a network, as you quite rightly said. I've run two business networks. So over the years, I've dealt with a lot of people, a lot of humans. And I feel like in my experience of doing that through running a network, through the kind of main focus being connecting people in business, I've drawn from that a real kind of interest in people in general, and the way people work, the way people function, the body language of people, people's kind of purposes and the importance of people's having a purpose, and also people's mindsets, the importance of work-life balance, being a business owner, all of those different things as a culmination, really. And that's kind of led me through the pandemic, with having my own challenges personally, with my family, with health and mental health, but also with having to really draw upon my own mindset and have to really kind of talk to myself and have a word with myself and say, right, we are in a pandemic. My business, being in the events industry, has been hugely affected now, and so much so that it's on hold because legally I wasn't able to run events for 18 months. And so a business that I'd worked very hard to build over that previous 14 years was essentially kind of taken away from me. And I had to not only kind of pivot, is that buzzword that we all kind of heard a lot about over the lockdown, but I had to think, outside of the box and really draw from some of the experiences that I had in the past of how I could bring out an alternative option for my clients and audience who, I have a responsibility to. And so a lot of that was a lot of pressure for me and on my mental health. But so after having a few days of a meltdown over whether I'd have to sort of start a whole new business and change a career and all of that, and, essentially my business had been taken away from me. Being the resilient person that I realise that now I am. I didn't realise I was so much back then, but I know I am. I kind of just got on with it, had a word with myself and launched alternative options and went virtual in the more practical sense with my events. But in that time, much like many other people, everyone's got their own stories. In that 18 months of going through the pandemic, obviously I had to really work on my own mindset. I had to really implement more self-care practice, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, and therefore then I kind of really wanted to, since then and during that time, wanted to really assist and help and support other people that were going through similar things. And I found that when just having conversations with people, a lot of what I was going through was resonating with other people. And so then I implemented a lot of what I did in my training and coaching practice, and almost rebranded myself really as a mindset coach. But I don't really kind of focus on the mindset as a standalone service. My main kind of focus is communication. So I am a communication coach, which comes from, obviously, as I said before, working with a lot of people through my network. But the mindset element is a huge element and part of everything that I do. So in every workshop that I deliver, I include mindset sections in that. I think it's really important too, and it seems to go down quite well as well because it applies to everyone. It's universal.
Absolutely. I did some mental health first aider training recently because I've been supporting, shall we say, people who are at risk of suicide and other mental health situations. And I wanted to learn if there was anything extra that I could have done other than how I supported these people. And what I found was what I was doing actually was just the right thing. It's about listening. It's about being there for people, not directing them per se, but being there for them and cajoling them, signposting them, directing them in terms of showing them there's resources and help out there for people, but it obviously depends on the circumstances. But a lot of it I found is what I've been doing for years, is following my intuition and common sense. And it sounds as though that's the way you've been. You mentioned resilience and resilience, bounce back ability, or what other words that we're hearing these days. It's so important, isn't it, to protect ourselves. So what self-care things? You've referred to self-care, mental health, sort of self-care, and you've learned. What have you learned? What do you now do?
So I've always been very into self-care anyway. I think I've always been very aware of the fact it's important to have a work-life balance, and I think that comes from experience more than anything. Unfortunately, a lot of people learn about it, but it's usually too late. It's usually after you've had a burnout, isn't it? And I've had that experience over the years of being a self-employed business owner for, as I say, the best part of 15 years. And in the beginning, when I first launched my business, it was very difficult to say no to anything. Any opportunities that come along, I'm sure we've all been there, and because everything seems exciting, you don't want to miss an opportunity, and so then you take on too much, you spread yourself too thin, and before you know it, you are suffering with insomnia, you're not sleeping, you're stressed all the time, maybe a bit anxious. And I went through all of those things because I was just taking on too much. I was essentially burning the candle at both ends. So I've been through all of that in the very much the beginning stages of my business, which went on for a number of years. But I think it got to the point where I had to just do something about it, and I had to have a word with myself and say, look, this can't go on. This is not sustainable because it's not healthy. The more I was reading about health in books and on blogs and, going on webinars and things like that, because it does interest me very much, I was learning that, stress is one of the main causes of physical health issues. And that really worried me as well, because I thought, am I going to make myself ill? So in answer to your question, some of the self-care practice things that I implemented off the back of that were, I'd heard about things like meditation and mindfulness, and I thought, what, I'm going to give this a go. I find it very hard to switch off. My brain is constant. I'm a creative, so I know, fellow creatives will relate to this, that you're always thinking, you're always making lists in your head, and you're always thinking of new ideas. Wherever I go, I'm constantly finding that I'm inspired by life, by things, by people. And because I'm creative, I'm always constantly thinking of new ideas. And so I do find it very difficult to switch off. And so I thought actually meditation would be a good thing for me. So I've been probably practicing meditation now for about 10 years. All I do is actually use the app Calm and also Headspace, which I find really useful. I prefer guided meditation. I'm not an expert at it, so I don't do it myself without any guide. And I just find 10 minutes in the morning is often all I need to set me up for the day, actually. I usually do it before I even get out of bed, so it's usually the first thing that I do. If it's a sunny day, I might sit on my decking in my garden and do it for 10 minutes. And especially in lockdown, I find it very useful because I had more time on my hands and we were at a slower pace, if you like. So I found that it was easier to kind of allow myself that space and time to meditate. And also practicing mindfulness I've done for a long time as well. And when I'd first heard of it, I didn't really know what it was. But after attending quite a few, seminars, reading about it more, and just understanding it, I realised that all it really is just being in the present moment and actually appreciating and also implementing the gratitude within that. So I like to say practice gratitude because that's how usually people hear that terminology. But I don't really have to try. I've always been quite a grateful person. Like I don't have to wake up in the morning and go, today I'm going to practice gratitude for X, Y, and Z, because it comes naturally to me. I am just grateful for life. You know, I'm grateful for everything that I have, and I don't take anything for granted. And I think when you switch your mindset to that, you don't have to try to be grateful. You just are. And then also I do other things like journaling. I found really useful in lockdown as well, Elaine. So I bought myself a nice fresh new notepad and some nice little coloured pencils, and I used to do that directly after meditating in the morning. I say used to because I don't do it so much now. Now my business is back, events are back, and I'm doing a lot more. I find that I am not, and this is actually I'm guilty of, allowing myself the space to do it as much now, but also I don't feel like I'm in a place where I need to do it. I feel like I do it when I feel I need it, but I don't feel I need it at the moment. So yeah, they're the three main things, or four things really: meditation, mindfulness, practicing gratitude, if you like, organically, and journaling was also very useful. But I love getting outdoors, walking, fresh air. Hiking is one of my hobbies. Yoga I absolutely love. I find gym exercise really useful. And the most recently, post-pandemic, since we've kind of come out the other side of it, new things that I've implemented is I've started swimming, and I find that really meditative. I can switch off. It's one of the very few things that makes me switch off, actually. I always do 40 lengths each time I go. So if I go 3-4 times a week, that's a good amount of exercise, full body exercise that I've kind of done, but also great for your mental health as well. And then the second thing I've implemented since the lockdowns are I've gone to a 4-day working week. So I don't work Fridays anymore, just Mondays to Thursdays. I find that I'm much more productive Monday to Thursday with what I do. And then Fridays, I take that off as well as weekends. So I have a lovely long extended 3-day weekend. And I find that I'm not getting any less work done than I did before, but I'm happier, and I'm a lot more at peace and content and less stressed.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Very, very similar. A lot of similarities to how I live day to day. You know, being in the moment, being grateful, not taking anything for granted, etc. I don't do the still mindfulness meditation type things. I've been told that I'm an active meditator, so I'm now growing my own veg and poodling about in the garden here, where I live in the sunny Algarve, Portugal, which is glorious. So when I'm watering, and I have to water twice a day, that is my meditation, if you like. So I'm actively meditating, or weeding, or whatever I'm doing, but certainly twice a day with the watering. It's a very good time to be calm and appreciate and see the beauty of everything that is around me, and so on and so forth. The gratitude is huge. Tell us about your vegan, I've said it again, vegetarian blog writing thing that you do. Tell us about that, because that gets you into some interesting places, doesn't it?
It does, yes, it does, Elaine. It's a good perk of the job, I have to say. It's not something that I advertise necessarily that I do or have ever done. It's just become a bit of a byproduct of my business, if you like. When I launched RSViP, my network, in 2008, I immediately started working and collaborating with a lot of venues, so bars and restaurants and hotels, essentially, because all of our events are held in those types of venues each month. And so they became very quickly my bread and butter of my network and my business. And so over the years, I've developed really strong relationships with a lot of venues across the East Midlands. And just naturally, I guess, they started to invite me for dinner, or would you like to come for a drink on us, or and just more so that I could experience what they do, so that when it comes to promoting them to our network, I have first-hand experience, if you like, of dining in their restaurant or staying at their hotel or whatever it might be, which made absolute sense. So, of course, I was delighted to accept their offer in the beginning, and started to kind of really naturally just do this without really realizing that it was going to happen. And then I guess fast forward a few years, I decided to start a blog so that I could write about my experiences. And I don't class myself as a critic, far from, because I don't have a background in the food industry. I'm not an ex-chef. I never even worked in a restaurant, if you like. But what I do have experience in is experience. So as an events person, as an events prod, if you like, I have worked, as I say, with a lot of venues, very closely with setting up and working with behind the scenes at events and in the hospitality industry. And I know what works and what doesn't work. And I have eaten and dined and stayed at a lot of hotels and in restaurants, you know, not just in the East Midlands, all over the world, lucky enough to say. And so I have a good, I think, foundation of experience, of comparison as well, of what I think works and what doesn't as a consumer. And so because of my network, I can then shout about, you know, my experiences to them and let them know, you know, where to go, what's hot at the moment in Nottingham, what new bars, restaurants maybe have opened, and recommend them, and let people know where's good to go. And it's surprising how many people and how many inbox messages I get on a weekly basis of friends and business contacts asking me, where would you recommend for afternoon tea, for a bottomless brunch? I've got a party of 70, 300, a wedding, you know, all of these things. And I'm constantly getting asked for referrals. So that's really great as well for obviously my venue clients, because it means that I can recommend them. So the blog has been going for over 10 years now. It's called The Sleepy Vegetarian. That's my alias name. I have an Instagram account under the same alias as well. And it's just nice to blog and write about my experiences really as I go. I do it from the perspective of a detailed experience. So it's more about the journey that I experienced from the start. So from the booking process to arrival to the service, the ambience and vibe of the venue and the place, to the interior. You know, it's not just about food, and then, you know, everything in between as well. It's about the detail. My articles are usually quite detailed. But yeah, it's a lovely, like I say, it's a lovely thing to be able to do, and I'm very grateful for it.
Do you make notes while you're actually at the venue, or do you just take it all in and remember it?
I tend to take it all in and remember it now. In the beginning, I used to have a little pink notepad that I took with me, and I did used to take notes, but I don't really need to. If I need to take actually things like the menu and the details of the things that I'm eating, I tend to just take photos of the menu so that I can remember the names of the dishes and things like that, or the cocktails or the wine. And, you know, so any factual stuff I tend to just write down or send myself a note on my phone, send myself an email. But other than that, when it comes to experience, it's all in the mind. It's all locked up there anyway.
Excellent. And it sounds like you've got a magazine on the go here, because all the contacts you've got, you know, what's going on in Nottingham and around, the recommendations for restaurants, the venues, etc. It sounds as though you've got an opportunity there for a magazine or some kind of thing. But maybe you link that already with RSViP. Tell us a bit more about the RSViP.
Yeah, so I mean, with the network, as I say, anything I experience or get to experience tends to fall back into RSViP in some way. The way that I communicate with my audience and members of the network is digitally usually. So we have various private groups, LinkedIn, Facebook, where things can get posted and members can communicate in between the events. But then also we send out automated mailers through a CRM system, which are e-newsletters, updates about news, places that we've been, invites to events, not just our own events, but external third-party events that we maybe get exclusive numbers of tickets to that we pass on to our members. So the way that we communicate, as I say, tends to be digitally through email, mailers, our website, and also social media platforms. I'm constantly looking at improving ways of communication, and now that we're back with our events and have been since September last year, going forward I'm looking to improve on that even further with lots more things to come. Yeah, in terms of going back to your question before about RSViP, you said something else, Elaine.
Yes. Oh, I've no idea.
Okay.
We've moved on now. I don't know.
There's kind of two questions in one. But yeah, no, it's so
Oh,
yeah,
magazine. It was
oh,
magazine.
magazine. Yes, I knew you'd mentioned something. So, yeah, so the magazine side of things, it's not something I've got on the cards to do, if I'm honest. That's something I've been there and done already.
Okay.
My background is working in advertising. So before I launched RSViP, I used to work for a nice glossy lifestyle magazine for a while. Got a lot of experience in that field. And then when I did go self-employed and launched RSViP, about 3 years into the business, I also launched and co-partnered a digital business magazine for women called Afari, and that ran for about a year, 18 months. And that was really great experience as well. So I was kind of the editor-in-chief. That was my role. So I was kind of in charge of obviously putting the magazine together, the content, dealing with articles and things like that, and collaborating with lots of companies, as well as the advertising side for it as well, which sustained it. And so, yeah, I think I've kind of been there, Elaine, now. It's not really something that I want to go back to. I think I feel like I was going backwards if I did that. I think for me now, time's moved on from magazines, as though I think there's definitely a place in the market for them, for sure. And I don't think you can be a tangible hard copy magazine when, I think digital magazines obviously have their place, but I'd like to hope that they don't fully replace actual hard copy magazines, because nothing beats the smell of, hot off the press pages and, being able to hold it in your hand whilst you read. But I think with my network, it's about using other platforms to communicate now, and also face-to-face and being back in the room. Obviously, I mentioned before that we went virtual with our events as well for a whole year. So from March 2020, we really embraced Zoom and MS Teams, and we did all of our events on there. And that was a real experience that I really enjoyed, actually. And it's something that we'll bring back very soon as a more of a hybrid offering for our network. But whilst we've been kind of getting back to in the room face-to-face events, our time has been preoccupied really since September with that. But I think from next year we'll probably start to implement some more virtual events into the network as well, so stay tuned for that.
Brilliant. And maybe I can join in again from Portugal. I do miss the RSVIP events, because as a singleton on my own in Nottingham, there's no way that I would have ended up going to some of the venues that you carefully chose on my own. It just wouldn't have happened. So I was able to enjoy some places that I never would have set foot into, and also meet some great people, some great businesses, and many people I'm still in contact with that I met through your network.
Well, thank you, Elaine, and we do miss you at RSVIP, that's for sure. I know it's a long plane ride for you to come over to go to an event once a month, but yeah, obviously it'd be nice to see you on the screen more if we do the virtual ones again.
Yes, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But I can't see, to be honest, I can't see me coming back to the UK. I really can't. It's so brilliant living over here. I really enjoy it, and I'm meeting new people all the time, and I'm getting my health business on track, because I've had some ups and downs in the last couple of years since I've been here, but I'm now solid, and now helping people with their health and well-being, and it's working well. And I've got a nice little house here, so I'm actually going to be opening the doors for people to come and stay with me for weekends, educational weekends, where I can take people through health and well-being stuff that I do, and health assessments and so on. So watch this space.
Absolutely, that sounds amazing, and obviously keep me posted on details.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you're back on track with your health as well, Elaine, as well, and that you're able to now, they say you can't pour from an empty cup, so you're taking care of yourself, and now you're taking care of others again, and that's really great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's balance, is what you said at the beginning, that unless you've got your work-life balance right, and it's great to hear that you're doing the 4-day week. It's something that I don't actually work. When people, we talk about working, I don't work, because, and I'm sure you don't actually either, because you so enjoy what you do. It's not really work, is it? It's fun, and that's the difficulty when you're a business owner, getting the lines clear between what is paid employment and what is we're not employed, are we, as such, because we're our own bosses, but getting the balance right in whatever way you want to pitch it has to be the right thing for you, and individually we're all got different needs, haven't we, and different energy levels and personalities and all sorts.
Well, that's it. And you talk about energy levels, and I don't have a huge amount of energy these days. I never really have been an energetic person. I've always classed myself as a tired person, a very busy but tired person, because I've always been on the go and I've never allowed it to stop me, even though I have low energy levels. I've always suffered with anemia, so I have to supplement for that. I think probably a lot of it's to do with my diet being vegetarian, but also I'm not a great cook, so I find it difficult to kind of get all the goodness all the time in myself, because I don't cook as often as I should do, I suppose. But so I do supplement, and I'm just low on energy. I always have been, and so. But I've never let it stop me or impede me, and I've always been quite a busy person. So I think, again, self-care practices are often really important for me, more so because I know myself and I know my own body. I know my limits, and I've learned that. So I know that if I get tired mid-afternoon and my energy starts to plummet, I know that instead of trying to force myself to work through it like I used to, I know that I need to give myself that break and that time out. And I think that's the difference. It's self-awareness. I think it makes a huge difference. You can either choose to not be aware and ignore the signs and just plow through because you think you should, or you can actually go, actually, I'm tired. My eyes are glazing over because I'm reading the same thing over and over again. Clearly, I need a drink, or I need to hydrate, or I need to eat something, or I just need to go for a walk and take a breather. And that's the difference, I think, in the last few years between what I used to be and who I am now. And I think that's why I feel better and I feel happier. And more content, and I'm more kind of productive and efficient in my business as well because of it. And I think because I've been through that experience, that's where I then now share that with others. And I always, implement that and talk about self-awareness as being a very important thing.
It's absolutely vital. There's so many people, as you say, aren't self-aware. I'm a bit concerned about your energy levels though when you're dipping in the afternoon, because that we can fix that easily. We'll have to have a conversation offline about that, because that shouldn't be happening.
Yes,
you're a young lady. You shouldn't be complaining about things like that. If my age, fair enough, but even then, I don't accept it because there's just ways to fix it. So we'll have a chat offline. And,
thank you. That would be great.
Yeah. Okay. So, how do people get hold of you, Fiona?
So, RSVIPnetwork.co.uk is the website for my network, but also on my sort of communicating, mindset coaching and training, because I train people how to network more effectively as well. So if you are looking for a bit of help in that area, and that covers confidence as well. So if that's sort of impeding you and stopping you from networking, and actually preventing you and causing obstacles in your business, say, for example, if you wanted to start doing some public speaking, or you just find that you don't want to network because it's not your thing, how can you improve that? Then that's kind of really the areas that I cover in my training sessions and workshops. Then my website for that is just my name, FionaDuncanSteer.com. And then you can follow me on all the Instas. So it's RSVIP Nottingham, Facebook, RSVIP_ for Instagram, or my name.
Brilliant. Fabulous. Lovely speaking with you and having a catch up, Fiona. We'll speak again soon. Thank you.
Thanks ever so much.